Just to start off, you studied classical music in your younger days, I believe.
You know, I didn't really study classical music. There was a big interest because I liked all kind of music. But there was a woman who taught voice, and when I was like about 14 or 15, I think they gave me a scholarship, and I studied with a woman for a year because singing and things like that. And so, but I sang some classical stuff.
Right, but didn't really get all that serious.
No, but my musical director, because I was in high school, tried to push me into that direction. He wanted me to go into that, and really study music the proper way. But I was too involved with, when I saw Elvis Presley and all the rock and roll and American Bandstand, I said no. I had to, I wanted to be a rock singer or a pop singer or whatever. I was more into show business than the classical. But I really liked. All that music is so beautiful, and
Yeah. Now, before you started recording for yourself, you did some session work as a backing vocalist?
Boy, I don't know where they get all this information. I did a couple records. A record was called Ronnie Come Back, which by Marcy Joe, and it was myself and a friend of mine and one of the girls who did the early backgrounds on The Gypsy Cried and Two Faces of I, and with my sister in that. We did a couple local records. We didn't even get paid for it. I was trying to wiggle my way into to get into a recording studio and to have this guy, record me. And somehow it did work out because we had this record called Ronnie by Marcy Joe, and we did the background. The background was sort of got more attention than Marcy because I was singing like high and falsetto with the girl and another guy, and we were sort of singing this, Ronnie, come back. It sounded like Three Little Mice back there in the background. And they were all fascinated by that sound. And then we had another record called Since Gary Went in the Navy, and that was another sort of mediocre hit. So we had a couple records that we sang background to, and then they let me record my first record, which was by Lou G and the Lions, and my name was Lou G, L-U-G-E-E, so they let me record my first record, and it didn't do much, and then after that, then I became Lou Christie.
I believe you were totally unaware that the Lou Christie stage name had been given to you.
I was just going to go into the one name, Luigi, like Fabian or Cher or whatever it was. No, I walked in the office and they said, I said, well, I'm glad you decided my name's going to be maybe just Luigi. They said, oh no, your name's Lou Christie because the record, we're expecting it to arrive in the mail. And they said they're sending it out, and it should be on your name's Lou Christie. And I said, I was like, it took me years to sort of get used to it because even though my name is a derivative, Lou is Luigi or Luigi or, it's derivative from Luigi. But the Christie was the one that got me. But my dad said, he thought it was a good name because it had Christ's name in it, and he said it's going to bring you good luck. So, and it did too. The first record by Lou Christie or myself under that name was The Gypsy Cried. Was my first million-selling record.
Yeah. Tell us about your songwriting partner, Twila Herbert. How you met? She sounds like quite an eccentric character.
Oh, you have no idea. Well, she was a walking acid trip as far as I was concerned. I met her. I was, I think, 15 at the time, and I think she was like 32 or something like that. She was extremely glamorous. She had the body of like a Marilyn Monroe. She had red hair, long red hair, with big gold gypsy earrings. And, the first time I met her, and she had this emerald green dress on. She was like, I thought, oh my gosh, she's like this Hollywood movie star, and I was born and raised out in the country on a farm. And so this is the first time I had to meet her, and we just somehow connected and hit it off for years and years and years. Our whole lives have been, connected. And the first song we ever wrote was together was The Gypsy Cried, and that was my first million-selling record. And she and I wrote it in about 15 minutes, and wrote just about everything that a lot of things that I recorded in most of my hit records. After that, Lightning Strikes and Rhapsody in the Rain and Two Faces of I. But we just laughed and we had a great time. And she opened up I guess, a lot of the world to me, yeah, because she was brilliant and very eccentric and fun, and saw the world another way, you know, and we just had a great time together, laughing and making music together. And she was really into classics too, because she was a concert pianist and studied to be play classics. So between that and her doing that and my hearing these great little Italian songs and doo-wop stuff and Hank Williams songs, we put those things together and created our own sort of little master recordings, the way we wanted to do our own records.
So was there a procedure you went through when you were writing together, or was it very much spontaneous?
Well, we would start off just talking and drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes. and we just had a different take on the world. I mean, we just saw the world another way. I keep saying that, but it's and we I don't know. We would come up with an idea. We liked coming up with an idea, and we would try to get the title first, because the title was always probably one of our most interesting things in our records and songs that we wrote together, because we liked titles. I had many titles like Trapeze and Jungle and Crying in the Streets and Rhapsody in the Rain and obviously Lightning Strikes and the Gypsy Crowd. And, I mean, the story within had to be something kind of interesting. It just wasn't, I love you, you love me. That didn't interest us. It was a little too boring. We had to have another way of saying it. And we just created these unique things, and sound-wise. And I had the falsetto, and I thought, well, I've got to get their attention. So that's, because, everyone used to say, well, you've got 15 seconds. The disc jockey's going to put that needle on the record, and if he doesn't catch you don't catch his ear in 15 seconds, he's going to take it off, and he's not going to play the record. So I thought, well, I have to get his attention. That's when I started going, I had some trouble with my baby. I started singing falsetto, because I said, if that doesn't catch his attention, nothing's going to. And it worked, and here I am, 44 years later, still singing in that voice, and many I have to do all the records on stage. But I created, I put that stamp on myself as this falsetto guy, and it's still working for me, because I think this year has been the busiest year of my career out of about 44 years.
I believe, though, in those early days, there was some that mistook your falsetto style and thought they were listening to a female singer. Is that right?
Well, they thought it was a black singer. They thought it was a black chick. That's what they said to me one time. I was on my first tour, and believe it or not, I was booked from this. I didn't run around the country and perform until the record started taking off, the Gypsy Crowd, and it was like about number 98, I think, at the time. And they booked me without seeing a picture of me, and they just heard the record. They thought, well, let's get him here. We can get him cheap before, if the record goes up the charts, we're going to have to pay this kid a lot of money, this person a lot of money. So I show up at this. They booked me on a 3-week tour in the South. They call it the Chitlin Circuit. And it was an all R&B show. It was all black. And I go down to Greensboro, North Carolina, to go to rehearsal, and I show up, and I said, I'm here, Lou Christie. They said, you're Lou Christie. They thought I was a black girl because of the falsetto. No one ever saw a picture of me. And so I did a 3-week tour, and I said, no, baby, I'm not a black girl. And because of the falsetto really tricked their heads up. And I ended up doing the tour, and I had a great time. It was so much fun. And there I was, the only white kid on the tour, and I was with people like Bobby Sox and the Blue Jeans and a lot of R&B people. But we had a great time, and it was just fantastic. It was an experience, my first time on the road, and there I was 3 weeks on the road in the South playing the Chitlin Circuit. So, it was an experience, man. I'm glad I had.
Looking back, what do you think would be one of the best early lessons you learned in terms of handling success in the music business that you still carry with you today?
Well, my father said, if you're going to do something, then do it. Don't talk about it. I guess not talking about all the things that I'm going to do and blah, blah, blah. I think the whole industry is full of people, and they're just running around bragging, and I came from a working class family. My father worked very hard. I worked very hard. I was raised on a farm. I knew what working was. I really don't think that it was an uncharted course for me. And I never got a big head. I never felt like I had a big head. My ego was out of proportion. I just never thought that. I was always more concerned about what I was going to do in the future, how I was going to work on the next record. I never really took in, I guess, all the success, even with the records going to number one. And I was like, oh, well, what am I doing for the next one? It was like Twila and I always thought about, well, we better get something written for the next one. So I would I didn't even have time to bask in the glory of all the success, because I was always worried about the next show I had to do or the next town I had to get to or the next record. I mean, you're always working in advance all the time. I really never had that availability to just sort of, bask in the glory of it all. And many times in the early years, it was kind of sort of frightening in a way and unnerving because, kids would hide outside of our house. In the bushes and things like that. And my mother and dad, they had, we had 4 or 5 other kids in the house, and they were the babies and that. And so, I mean, there was just all these things that were invasive in my life, that sort of threw me a bit because, like I said, I thought, why are they screaming? Are they seeing something that I don't see when I look in the mirror, whatever the heck it was, But that was a bit unnerving, but. I was always at work, though. I came from a work ethic, and to this day, I'm still plugged into working, get up every day and do something and think about whatever you have to do and move forward.
One of the early tours you did when success came was the Dick Clark Caravan. Do you have any memories of that?
Oh, some of the best memories. Of course, at one point I was coming home from school, running home and turning on Dick Clark, the American Bandstand, and thinking, I've got to do that. I've got to get on that bandstand. Well, here I was 3 months later with Dick Clark calling me and asking me if I wanted to do American Bandstand. So I go to Philadelphia and do the American Bandstand, and then they asked me to join the Caravan of Stars, which travels around America. And we with like probably 10 of us who are the top 10 records in the country. And there I, get on the bus with the Diana Ross and the Supremes, Johnny Tillotson, Paul and Paula, Brian Hyland, Gene Pitney. So we were all sort of, on tour for many, many months. Sometimes, many years we did this, with different acts all the time. But that was like the best of all times because, and it was, we had one band that would play for all of us, all the acts, and then, we would sleep on the bus every other night, and then we would get a hotel room every other night. And my partner on the bus was Diana Ross. I thought, no one get near her. I have to sit by this. She was so magical to me, and she really pulled me in because I thought this girl's going to be a major star, and she had such talent, and she was like a magnet to me. I had to get near her, and we became friends, and that was really one of the best parts of the Caravan for me, traveling around with Dick Clark, and it was something that it was like I still look back and think, wow, things are hanging on my wall with pictures and us from the tour, and it's great to, it's sort of like my class reunion, when we get together with everyone.
Now, just as your career had some momentum going, you got called up for a stint in the Army Reserves.
Oh, I did. I went to Fort Knox and stomped around there for a while. And there was talk about the Vietnam War, and I didn't quite know no one really knew what it was. And I was in there for 6 months, and I got out, and then I recorded Lightning Strikes, because while I was in there marching around, I thought, oh my gosh, I got to get back on the charts. And I thought, as soon as I get out of here, because I was in the reserve unit, so I got out and recorded. Twila and I got together and we rewrote Lightning Strikes, recorded it, and away it went. Boy, we were back on the charts and -- around the country and mostly around the world. So.
But I believe your record company boss wasn't all that crazy about it initially.
No, that was the most bizarre thing of all, because we had taken the record, I'd cut it independently, and we had taken the record over to MGM. And they said, "Oh, this is a piece of crap," and the guy threw it in the garbage can. I remember it was like, I thought, is he joking or what? This thing is not. This is not what's happening. It's not going to make it, because at that time the English stuff was taking off. We were having the big English invasion, and so, but we said, well, we're going to make it a hit anyhow, and so we hired our own independent people, a couple guys around the country, and gave them, I don't know, $100 a week if they could get it on the charts and that. And all of a sudden, it started taking off. And about 3 months later, he was presenting me with a gold record to take a picture for Billboard magazine. And the same guy who threw it in the garbage can was handing me a gold record. So it was very funny how that took place.
That's revenge.
Yes.
Were you?
That's revenge.
Were you always confident of the song's hit potential, though?
Oh, absolutely. When we wrote something and we liked it, we just got a buzz from it, or an instinct, or we just had this. There was so much, I guess, thought. Not even so it's thought, passion and power in our stuff. That. When we hit something, we knew we had it. I mean, there could have been a lot of things sometimes that go wrong. Like I had some of my greatest records really weren't hits, but they still would be hits. I think if they had the right chance, because sometimes you were signed to a label and the guy who signed you was fired, and so you're finishing your album and you think, oh my gosh, the guy who just signed me, who was going to be behind this, was fired, and and all of a sudden it's put on the shelf. So you have some of these great records that have not come out, or that that I've written and partly have completed, and I have drawers of these wonderful things, and some of the best records were not hit records. But when we wrote a song and we had that passion and power behind it, we knew we created something, and it proved every time. We knew our records were going to be big hits if they had that shot, and then of course they were.
Would you say you were very image conscious in those days, or your management was very conscious of the image that they wanted you to present?
No, my head. I'm so sorry that it always got down to, the kid can make money, and let's drag him here, let's take him here, they could care less about any image that was created. I really didn't have any decent management. There was never a decent manager in my life. Even when I lived in Hollywood, and Bob Marcucci, who handled me he used to handle Fabi and Frankie Avalon. As a matter of fact, he discovered them. But Bob was like sort of over the times moved on. The English thing was happening. Life was a lot different. It just wasn't packaging a good-looking kid or an Italian shirt and making him a hit. Because I think pretty much that's what he did with Fabi and Frankie Avalon. Even though they were really, they're two of my closest friends right now, and we travel around a lot and do a show together called the Golden Boys at Bandstand. I came on when Bob was handling me, and he was well known as a manager, and I always wanted him to manage me, but I think it was that he was over by the time he got to me, and I sort of survived through a lot of people who really just wanted to make money on me.
Now, Rhapsody in the Rain, quite a controversy over there, I believe, at the time.
Oh, yeah.
You actually had to go and re-record some of that. I don't think we had the same drama about it down here. Tell us the story.
Well, it was, when we wrote the song, Twila and I kept talking each other in and out of the thing. One day I'd say, we can't put that line in, that's too suggestive. And then, because I said, it might get banned, and then I'd change my mind the next day and say, we got to put it in, it's too good, And then she'd say, no, it's going to, we just went back and forth, and so we said, let's take a chance, and we did it. And we wrote the song, and some of the lyrics, we said, baby, the raindrops play for me a lonely rhapsody, because on our first date, we were making out in the rain. They didn't like that, making out in the rain. And in this car, our love went much too far. Wrong. They said that was too suggestive. The windshield wipers seemed to say, together, together, together. So we know what was going on in the car to the rhythm of the windshield wipers, because we went, ooh-wee, baby, Rhapsody in the rain. So it was like orgasmic rock, you know. And it was far too suggestive for what was being played in America. And it started getting banned the first week it came out. I mean, I had Time Magazine even wrote an article and said that Lou Christie, I was corrupting the youth of the day because it was just too suggestive, and I had nuns and priests calling and PTA people and parents and, you know, trying to get this thing banned. And so they made me go in and change the lyrics to it in a couple of weeks, and I so-called cleaned it up and re-released it. But it didn't matter. The kids knew that their first one was, you know, the one that was the real deal, because it was getting so much controversy that that sold, you know, really sold 1.5 million records. And I do the dirty version on my show.
You read
there were times when they would not let me go out on stage and sing that.
Oh, really?
That's how bad it was. Yes, it was really ridiculous.
Now you did the
today. I mean, today it's like, it sounds like a nursery rhyme. Today.
It does, doesn't it? You did the rounds of record companies in the late 60s. Was it difficult to find a label that was on the same wavelength as you and prepared to let you go in the direction you wanted?
I always had trouble. No one understood what the hell I was doing musically or lyrically or who I was. It was all about money to any of these people, and you know, and there was never, you know, there were maybe a couple record companies that had people that were into images and things like that, but I was always sort of riding my own road. I mean, walking down that path my own way. You know, I had so many ideas and so many different ways of recording. I mean, I could sing. My voice I've been gifted with, you know, it's a curse and a blessing at the same time, and I can sing a lot of different ways. I mean, the stuff that Rod Stewart is doing today, and I mean, come on, I did that when I was 13, you know, 12, 13 years old. I mean, I love that stuff. And, you know, to talk a record company into letting me do that, they look at you like you got 4 heads, you know. But I also, I mean, I liked a lot of, you know, like I say, classical stuff. I can do, you know, that root R&B stuff, country stuff I love. You know, I had that big record that was in the movie Rain Man. That was sort of, I did a song called Beyond the Blue Horizon, and I did it in a country feel, my own way. It was more than country. But I had some steel players and things like that on it, and Eric Weisberg played the steel on that. And that was in about 5 different movies. So that was just one of the ways that I could go musically. And I didn't have anyone around or a big enough record company or anyone to stand behind you to sort of help you push on to your next idea. It was always about, he's got a hit record. Let's get some more money. Let's take him to another company, and then we'll get some more money for him. So sign. Then we'll make another $100,000, and we'll do this over here, and then we'll take. You know, it's like, oh. So they really was no really good home where you could sort of settle down and have someone like a Clive Davis. Even though Clive even signed me at one point to Columbia. Mm. To really sit beside you and say, you know, where do you want to go, kid? You know, and let's go that route.
Now, you took an extended break away from music in the 70s, I think even some time in England. What was keeping you busy during that time?
My wife. I went to England. I started performing over there and had a lot of hit records there, and I had a great show and was traveling around the country. And I met my wife, and I married this beautiful, beautiful woman, Francesca Winfield, and she's now Francesca Winfield Sacco. And we have 2 children, Christopher and Bianca, and we lived over there for a few years, and I was traveling around and doing concerts over there, and I had a great, great time, and met some wonderful people who handled me over there, Barry Marshall and Jenny, who handle, I think they're handling, I think Paul McCartney, he's in with Paul McCartney now, and he handles Tina Turner and that, but he was, you know, and that's when I first met Badfinger, you know, that's when I, you know, was sort of involved with bringing them to the States, to America, when they signed with the same people I was with, you know. So we, you know, there was a lot of good things that happened while I was in England.
When the hit single started to dry up and music started going through so many changes as it did you see it as a great opportunity for you to more or less start afresh and start trying new musical directions?
Every record for me was a new direction. I mean, it was. I always feel like every time a record comes out for me, it's something new, and something I'm trying to, build, or it's something I'm trying to execute, I mean, it's always new, because music kept changing, the times kept changing. We went from the Teenage Idol period, then we went to the invasion, the English invasion, then we went to the sort of like the protest period, when the Vietnam War was happening, and there in the middle of that I had "I'm Gonna Make You Mine," which was my teeniest bopper record of all, and that in the middle of the Who doing something, or Crosby, Stills and Nash, and all these people who were protesting. Here I come with "Every Trick in the Book," da 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 da. This little teeny bopper record, which went to #1. So it was. It was very bizarre. It's almost like if I go against the grain, I have a chance of having a hit record.
You mentioned the country music. Was that a music form you're always a big fan of?
Oh, always. Since I was 5 years old, I just remember, listening to the WWVA Jamboree or or WSM, the Grand Ole Opry, on the AM radio at night, and listen to this country music that I really enjoyed. Hank Williams, and then I'd listen to Rusty and Doug, Wilma Lee Stoney Cooper, and the Clinch Mountain Clan, and Abby Neal and the Ranch Girls, all these wonderful country people, and I really like country music. And, I still do today, if you can hear some decent. I sort of like, I think it's too commercialized now. It's like that. They're packaging these boys now with, with fake cowboy boots and fake fringe. I don't know. So they don't look like the real deal. When you had the old country people like Webb Pierce and Jim and Jesse and Hank Williams and that. Now they're just sort of. It's sort of like a country by way of Hollywood Boulevard. I think musically, I think some of the stuff is just. They got a formula that is talk about them being bad little boys down there in Nashville, and they just keep rubbing their faces in it, and I it's not my type of country music, but every now and then you've got a Vince Gill who's wonderful, fantastic, and Alison Krauss. That's some great singers, and that's some great music that comes from those people.
So, looking back over your string of hits, which do you think has stood the test of time better than the others?
Well, I guess you'd have to say, Lightning, because Lightning, it just goes on and on. That record just doesn't stop even today. I hear it every day on the radio somewhere, on Sirius Radio or wherever you have a station that plays oldies or classic R&B. But then there's always that Beyond the Blue Horizon. That record just doesn't die. It just keeps going on, and that's been in 5 different movies. It's been it was in the Travel Channel. It was their theme song when they opened the Travel Channel. It's used every day somewhere around the world, and it was in Kathy Bates' last movie. It was in Rain Man. It was, there's something about that record that just lives on and on. It's so optimistic. It might. Hope maybe it'll be the new, song for the Democratic Party in America after we get rid of Bush. It's a very optimistic song, an optimistic record that is it moves forward in the audiences. It's probably the most requested record that I ever recorded. And it wasn't my biggest one. It only went to like number 14 around the nation the first time it was released in about 1973. But it still lives on and on. It's amazing. And we get more responses on the website, the louchristie.com, that of anything that I've recorded.
Really? It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, you got back into the studio in 1999 to record an album, your first in many, many years. That must have been a great feeling.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, great. Pledging My Love album was really cool. I periodically go in, once a year to do something just to keep my chops going and keep my skills up, because technology has changed so much in recording. But the problem is today, what do you do with them? You can put them on your iTunes and that, but you just don't know. You have nothing to hold, nothing to read, nothing to look at, like you used to with a 45 record or an LP. I don't know. There's something wonderful about it. At the same time, there's something wrong with it. From the way I was raised and the way you would come out of the session with a great record and run to the radio stations and get it played and and to get an instant reaction from your fans out there on the streets. But you can't do that today. It's a different world out there.
It sure is. Now, you mentioned this is one of the busiest times of your career. What is keeping you busy these days?
I work every week. This week I'm in Wisconsin, then I'm in Indiana. I just come back from Las Vegas. I was there at the Wynn Hotel. Did a great show there. I was in Florida about 2 days ago. Each week I'm out there running around the world doing my shows, and the show gets better. I have two girls called the Crayons are with me. And I bring probably some of the best musicians that I can with me. So if I ever get over to Australia, I'm bringing the boys and the girls with me, and we'll create a big hoedown over there. I have never been to Australia, and
I didn't think you had. I couldn't remember it in recent memory anyway.
No, I haven't. But I've been asked, and every time I go over, there was some kind of cancellation because of something, or the world's going through a turmoil, or something's happening. But and I've had, there was a group called Old 55. I think had Two Faces of I, which was a record that I had.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and I had, original hit was 1963, I think. But and of course, Lightning, and I think I had Guitars and Bongos was a hit over there. I had some records over there that were hits. And of course, when I was in England, my whole group was from Australia. I don't know if you remember Marcy and the Cookies.
Yes, yeah.
Marcy Chance. Well, Marcy and the Cookies. The two girls that were with her, the Beverly Cook, and that they sang with me in England. They traveled with me for a couple of years. And when Tweed Harris was one of my musical directors, I think Tweed just passed away a couple of years ago.
He did, yeah, just recently, yeah.
Yes, and he was a good friend of mine. He was my musical director, and we had Rodney, and we had Andy, and Gary Spry, who was a promoter, I think, in Australia.
That's
we
right.
had a lot of just great times together in England, traveling around that bloody cold country. But it was a great experience, and I do miss them because we had a wonderful time.
Tremendous. And just to finish up, Lou, what would be your standard piece of career advice for your young artists on the way up?
Oh God, today I don't know. You have to have. The one good thing about it is that you have such a drive. If you haven't got the drive and the passion, don't even get into it. Just you've got to believe in yourself so much, and I don't know how to tell people to believe in themselves. You just have to do it.
Sounds like good advice.
Yes, I'm getting a phone call.
Uh-huh.
Can you hold on? Wait, I'll just a second on this. I think it's like I say. I think it's down to passion, and you can't tell anyone how to get passion. You've got to just do it, and just when you don't take no for an answer.
That sounds pretty good advice. Lou, thanks so much for your time. It's been a treat catching up with you. Great to see you keeping.
Thank you very much. Yes, I am. I'm keeping busy, and I hope to get over to your country soon. I would love that.
There's an audience here waiting for you.
Great.
Good on you, Lou. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Just to start off, you